We have some breaking news from Paris 2024. One of Canada's highest profile athletes is losing his coach to a controversy just before he runs a major race. Sprinter Andre De Grasse is the defending Olympic champion in the 200 meters, and he's still dealing with some of the disappointment after failing to reach the finals of the men's 100-meter sprint. Heather is joining us now from Canada Olympic House with the breaking details. Heather?
It is a fast-breaking story here, Abby. Yes, the Canadian Olympic Committee has pulled the credentials of Andre De Grasse's coach, essentially ejecting him from Paris less than a day before De Grasse is set to race in the semifinal of the 200-meter sprint. That's the event in which he is the defending Olympic champion. Why? It has made the move, it says, because of new information. 3 new lawsuits have come to light, bringing allegations of sexual and emotional abuse against the coach, Rana Reider. So let's take a look at some of this backstory together, because I can appreciate that not everyone follows the minutiae of the athletics world. Rana Reider is considered a sprint guru. He is based in Florida, and Rana Reider was sanctioned by the U.S. Center for Safe Sport for an inappropriate relationship with one of his athletes. She was 26 years his junior. The U.S. Center for Safe Sport said the relationship, quote, presented a power imbalance and sanctioned him for 12 months. Now, that sanction period ended just this past May. This past Sunday, the British newspaper The Times came forward with a report that 3 women have filed new lawsuits in court in Broward County, Florida. The first woman who's named in the lawsuit alleges sexual and emotional abuse. The second woman who's named alleges sexual and verbal harassment. The third woman is remaining anonymous. Now, CBC News has seen those court documents and corroborated the facts. The allegations, of course, have not been proven in court. As well, from the Guardian newspaper, we had a report last week that World Athletics had questioned Canada's decision to give Reider his accreditation in the first place as a personal coach, again because the sanction period had so recently come to an end. The COC issuing a statement early this morning saying it had done so based on the information it had at the time, and saying as well that the probation period had ended. The statement goes on, though, to say he had no other suspensions or sanctions and otherwise met our eligibility requirements. Now, here's where things changed. On Sunday, August the 4th, we learned of new information about the appropriateness of Mr. Reider's remaining accredited by Team Canada at the Paris 2024 Games. In discussion with Athletics Canada, it was agreed that Mr. Reider's accreditation be revoked. If he doesn't have accreditation, what that means is he has no access to any of the training or competition venues, and he also has no access to the athletes whom he trains. So let's continue on from there. His lawyer, Ryan Stevens, issued a statement this morning also criticizing the COC's move, saying it was done suddenly and without due process. Reider has now been unjustly stripped of his Olympic coaching credential, it said, based on years-old claims in a lawsuit by former athletes seeking financial gain. And he concluded the statement, Ryan Stevens did, by saying it's a bad day for the Olympics when a governing body's fear of bad publicity is prioritized over the athletes. So that's where things stand to the moment, Abby, in terms of statements back and forth this morning.
Heather, now the Canadian team's certainly under some scrutiny now because of this development. And we know, as I mentioned, Andre De Grasse is still competing in these games. He's in that 200-meter semi that's coming up. How could all of this affect him? What have you heard?
Well, we haven't heard anything from Andre De Grasse personally or from any representation. We're certainly working to get some of that for you today, Abby. But the statement, again, going back to Ryan Stevens, who is Reider's lawyer, suggests there will be a disruption. He said the ones who are being hurt in all of this are the athletes suddenly forced to compete without their chosen coach, including one of Canada's finest sprinters. That's obviously a reference to Andre De Grasse. Andre De Grasse started working with Rana Reider back in 2018. At the time, it was a bit of a low point in his career. He'd come off very successful Rio Games, but he was at a low ebb, and he started to work with Reider again. And he's widely credited with turning around De Grasse's success culminating in that gold medal in Tokyo, the gold in the 200 meters. But then he split from Reider back in 2022. Other athletes did as well. And at the time, the reports were that it had nothing to do with the controversy. Andre De Grasse said it was better for his family. He was looking for a fresh start and a new approach to things. He wanted to work on the finer details ahead of the Paris Olympics to come. Then we heard at a time when, again, his career was at a low ebb. He had a lot of injury problems in the last season. 9 months ago, he went back to work with Reider once again. And Devin Haru from CBC Sports did a piece on that reunion and the whole issue. And at the time, again, Andre De Grasse saying 2022, yes, there were disruptions, he said, but those issues have been resolved. That was the quote to Devin at the time. And Athletics Canada quoted at the time, aware of the issue, but signed off saying that CBC Sports, in a statement to CBC Sports, that all personal coaches must go through a background screening process and have completed safe sport training. So there was much more to gather on this story today, I can tell you, Abby, and our news team here in Paris is doing just that. In the meantime, Andre De Grasse, that semifinal set for tomorrow, and the final on Thursday night. Abby.
We'll certainly be checking back in with you, Heather. Thanks for this.